Hello. This message is for basically anyone out there that finds themselves in the wrong place. It might feel specific, but it's not. Um, you're in the wrong place because you're still wearing masks. Things are continuing to break around you because you're still wearing a mask. You may have had concept that you're playing with a yo-yo, that you can string something out and pull it back whenever you would like, essentially playing a game. This is not a game. This is your life, and you are destroying it. Many people in your life have had to say goodbye. They've had to say goodbye and do so without a fight because you took steps to prevent them from being able to fight. For one, fighting for a place in your life, in some cases, resulted in dire consequences for them. Um, Maybe they didn't feel like it was worth it to fight with you anymore. Especially if you didn't put much into the relationships you had. Most of the people that you truly love turn their back on you because you didn't put anything into the relationship. There's nothing really that they're fighting for. It's easy to walk away when you've proven to be nothing more than work with zero sense of accomplishment or reward in any way. Not just monetary, but whatever. It always resulted in the same thing in the end, which is you're pushing them away. If you find yourself in this situation, I feel you're probably becoming stressed to the point you're losing weight, or your health may be failing. Um, Nobody's ever going to try to fix this except you because you're the one that started this. Um, like I said, you gave no reason for anyone to fight for the relationship because you never invested in the people you love. You did to some extent with some people, but with others, you utterly failed. Um, Personally, uh, I have in my life felt that uh, I've watched the whole thing go up in flames, even amidst receiving a settlement. I've watched it go up in flames because of one particular person. If you feel that this message is for you, then you're probably looking at a 6'3", 300-pound problem who doesn't particularly care. The only time this person's happy or laughing is at the expense and misery of others. And you know this is true. You do know it's true. You see it every single day of your life. You hear the condescension, you hear the negativity, you hear the whining, and then when you go to attempt to change and do something about it, there's the guilt trip, the crying, anything and everything, all stops are pulled out. And if that doesn't work, then it comes down to threatening. But really and truly, those threats at the end of the day also backfire. They also have blowback and serious consequences that the person that is issuing the threats, they have to face as well. And if they do the things that they're threatening, they're going to end up making things much worse for themselves. And if they don't care, that's one thing. But everything comes out in the wash. Really and truly. Every single time you've listened to a third party in regards to your relationships, they were lying. They were lying to hold your attention. They were lying to drive you to a point where you could rely on no one but them. And I know that by now you've discovered that they were lying the entire time. You just don't know how to. You feel like an idiot for having listened to them, and you don't know how to reverse course. But truth is always the only option to reverse course, and being willing to admit you've made a mistake is the highest form of strength that anyone can ever give or have or demonstrate. Being able to admit when you're wrong shows not that you're wrong, and not that being wrong is the most devastating thing on earth, but being able to admit you're wrong shows that you're willing to grow. You're willing to learn. You're willing to ascend. You're willing to have made 1,400 light bulbs before you got number 1401 right. Now, that's not the exact count for Thomas Edison, but it was in the thousands that he made light bulbs that did not work. But eventually, he did. You can make the wrong decisions for a good majority of time and then finally make the right decision and see, maybe not at first, maybe at first things get bad before they get better, but that's because they're false towers. They're false accomplishments. They're accomplishments that are built without foundation, that are unstable, as was outlined in my own personal police reports, in my own personal situation. Unstable, instability. This proves instability. I'm not unstable, I'm not unstable, I'm not any of those things. I'm stable. It's when you force people to look at me as through your own prism of distortion, that they begin to see me as dangerous. I'm not dangerous. I've never been dangerous to anyone in my life, ever. I haven't. There's no record of me ever being dangerous to anyone. Have I harassed people? No. I've held a mirror up to them. Have they asked me to stop and I continue to do it? Yeah. Yep. I held a mirror up because I felt justified. And I will say that was wrong. It's not my place to go around showing people how they've done wrong. It's my place to realize when I've done wrong and to admit it, and consistently holding up a mirror to someone who isn't prepared to see the truth. It's wrong. I shouldn't have done it. But that's a far cry from saying that I'm going to harm anyone. No. In my own personal case, someone said they were going to place a wreath on my son's grave. And my response was exactly what it was. I don't feel guilty about that. I never physically intended to do that because, number one, it's a homosexual act and I'm not gay. And number two, he would probably like it. For lack of anything else to say about it. I was sick of being picked on in my situation at that time. It just sucked. It had been something like, I don't know, over 100 nights of constant bombardment, and I snapped. And the most that would ever happen to this fat bastard is what I sent by email. And I regret it now because of how it was used against me, but I don't regret saying it because, I mean, it's absolutely asinine and embarrassing to have said, but considering what he had done, it just pissed me off. So, I understand that if you're in the situation finding yourself still wearing masks, still unable to cope with reality, but really upset over the nature of reality, that it's very likely that if there is a third party, you're still not willing to admit he's real. It doesn't matter if he texts me or posts on my Facebook wall. You don't ever want to admit that he's real. Okay. You think that if admitting that it would permanently seal the deal, that I will never, ever, or anyone in your relationships or whatever, will ever see you as the person they once saw you as? That's not necessarily true. People make mistakes. It's how they go about admitting that they've made mistakes that builds character. In my particular situation, the person I once knew, that's the kind of thing that would have made that person who they are, is that they were capable of admitting when something was wrong or that they had done wrong. That type of person would have literally found herself and been able to stand on that platform and been able to talk the way they spoke and been an apple of gold because they would have gone through the gauntlet. They would have run that gauntlet and they would have come out the other side beaten and bruised, lost things along the way, but reborn in a stance of integrity. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. That type of person really is something admirable at the end of the day. I mean, really and truly. And that type of person doesn't have to go to other people to get advice on how to be. That person doesn't need to keep counsel, especially make the wrong choice and choose crappy counsel that sets them up for failure. They can tell the difference between somebody who's willing to take accountability and someone who is just playing a game. Life does have games. It does. But if everything is a game, then nothing is real. Remember, I said that. Literally, if everything is a game, then nothing is real. If you find yourself in this situation wearing masks still, you know what you have done is beyond unfair. Not just to one particular person, but to everyone in your life. Some worse than others, obviously. You know deep down it's unfair, and it makes you angry. And instead of realizing that it's you doing it and that you've done it all to alienate yourself from the ones you love, you've made it their fault. You're blaming them, where they really don't have much of a say in any of it. If you find yourself isolated and alone and in pain, you yourself have put yourself in this situation, and there is no one to blame but you. And the devil's in the details is that you continuously seek to blame others instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and understanding what brought you to this. If you could do that, if you could find the strength within yourself, if you could truly take in your decisions, and maybe if you're wearing a mask and you find yourself alienated from everyone you love, maybe you've been abusing substances along the way. It's just a thought. Perhaps. And if you have been doing that, it's only to numb out the pain. It is absolutely to numb out the pain of what you've done, so that you can lie to yourself and say, oh yeah, well, fuck them. It's their fault. They shouldn't have done this, or they shouldn't have done that. There's no way to look at where you're at. What you've done is essentially the most dangerous thing you could do if what's important to you is love. Now, if what's important to you is money, well, that's a different story. I mean, hopefully you've gotten all the money you could possibly get, but somehow cutting corners and breaking the law and doing things like that, these things don't provide lasting money. They don't provide opportunity. They don't, I mean, prison is filled with people that committed even murder for money. It's no way to live a life. And the people that you surround yourself with, if you're committing crimes and it's okay with them and they know about it, they're committing crimes. 9 times out of 10, that's what's happening. And you find yourself in an environment that's totally false, that is totally filled with nothing more than the corrupted. that may put on a good front to the outside world, but in the end, they're the worst people on earth to actually know. I mean, truly. So, what I would say is, um, try not to let this situation you find yourself in go for too long. Because it might already be too late. Um, if you want any of your loved ones back in your life, if you want to turn your life around, um, stop thinking you've got it all figured out. Because the first thing to realize is none of us have it figured out. And while you might find yourself living with a 300-pound, 6'3", 6'2" Shrek of a person who can play chess and like strategy a lot, but they themselves know in their hearts that they're in the wrong place. They're on the wrong timeline. They have no business being where they are, and they never did. They chose to do some of these things to get ahead and ended up severely damaging the world in very serious ways that have very serious consequences that they have managed to avoid so far, but they won't forever. I can assure you of that. They will not get away with what they've done in the end. And I'm not some goody two-shoe. I'm honest. They surround themselves, like I said, with these fake people, these people that also are willing to commit crimes, fraud, scamming people. That's how they earn their living. They're the bottom feeders of society, literally. They are, I believe they're called sewer maidens, because when all else fails, they preside over what's thrown away. I mean, I'm not surprised if some of them dumpster dive continuously and consistently. I've met some of these people before. I've seen how they live, and I've seen the squalor that they live in. I've seen the trap houses and shit that they call home for a while, and they work in an angle to get in with somebody that is misled, misguided, and they put on a hoax of saying, look at all my accomplishments. I mean, going so far as to take someone to a staged house is for sale, claiming it's their house for a night. Yeah, I've seen it. But if you want what's real and you want what is actually worked for, that actually lasts and lasts without worry, without having to be intoxicated all the time, then you'll look to people who are real, who do have your best intentions at heart, and don't particularly necessarily want anything in return, but you can't take advantage of them and abuse them. You know, beggars can't be choosers, that kind of a deal. It's something like that. These people that do this kind of crap, that pull scams, if they're your friends, they'll abandon you. And they probably already have several times. And the only way to get their attention back is for you to end up harming what was real in your life even more. That's the only way. You're not ever going to get their attention or make them happy unless you're harming yourself even more. And that's how you know you're surrounded by demons. The only time they celebrate is when you're destroying something you once had. If you pay close attention, you'll see what I mean. Watch closely. Do some more damage to what you once had, and you'll see them smile. Anyone who loved you or who loves you would frown at what you're doing, and they would be incredibly heartbroken and sad if they truly loved you, and if they knew the truth. But if it's a lie that you have projected, then it's impossible to tell. It's impossible to tell. You've poisoned the well. So it's food for thought. If you think about it, whoever is your chief person that you live with or that helped guide you down this destructive path you're on, if you look real closely and you think about it, you'll realize you don't know this person. You truly don't. There are things they have done that you have no idea about. I believe that. This person would have compartmentalized his life in such a way that you don't know. You don't know what he's capable of. And this will make you scared. This could prevent you from taking action. However, you should not let it. Because the only thing you should truly have to fear is God. Because what is wrong and why you have no spiritual protection is because you've turned your back on God. And a few times out of your own fear, you may have dropped to your knees and pretended that, or prayed for the wrong things, that you wanted God to answer your prayers, and he didn't. He wouldn't listen to you at all because you put yourself in this situation deliberately. But I think that if you were to honestly approach spirituality with the sense of absolute rock bottom desperation of saying, there is no more. There is no more path. There is only one path. And if you ask our Creator to come into your heart and change you and help guide you to do the right thing, bad things will happen at first. You'll be upset at first. It won't be pleasant. It will not be pleasant. It will be painful. However, once you start down that path, everything that's fake, it becomes destroyed and goes away. Everything that's real starts to materialize before you. It's the only way. There is nothing else you can do. You're out of options. You don't have options. Not real ones. Not anything that's going to lead you anywhere but toward more death and destruction, and eventually your own death. Your life, if you've lived it To the particular group of people I'm talking about that are wearing masks, if you've lived it with masks, then you do find yourself in a hell. If you pay close attention and look around you, there is nothing good. There's nothing of good. I can assure you of that. That's the way that life works. That is the game, so to speak. The game is to look for authenticity wherever you find it and value. And if you look around and you see only value in material things, you'll notice all of these things can't love you back. Even the people that are purveyor of these things, they're not real people. They don't love you back. You don't know the person you're with. Many of his misdeeds have been hidden from you. You've been lied to repeatedly. You've been led to believe things that are simply untrue. Because you didn't protect the things you had that you cherished the most. Maybe your house. Maybe your dog. Maybe your cat. Maybe even your children. These things are now gone because you didn't protect them from his silvery tongue and whispering to get in. You let the monster into your home and did a deal with the devil because you thought something was more important than family. I would revisit that thought if you care about your life. Family is everything. Family is the only thing. At the end of the day, family is what we have. Everyone can see this for what it is. If you would just stop lying and stop letting people talk you into believing your own lies. Stop being thirsty for attention. Anyone that's thirsty for attention cannot make good decisions. You don't need people looking at you. People have looked at you enough and they haven't seen anything that's of good. You know what I mean, you know what you're doing. You know how you've ended up. You know this isn't the answer. This can just be considered a midlife crisis if you turn back. Probably. I would think so. People love a comeback story. Good people. I mean, look at Saul in the Bible. He became Paul. He was on his way to Damascus to murder more Christians when he was struck blind. There are happy endings that do occur, but not for people who surround themselves with trash. Trash, and let me define trash. Trash is anything that seeks to gain by committing sin, committing crime. That's trash. When criminals stop choosing to break the law and start choosing to do right, they become worthwhile people. To live outside the law, you must be honest. I have lived outside the law. Right now, I'm living outside the law. Unfortunately, I've been framed in such a way as to make me appear as something I'm not. That's unfair, but it's true. And the people that know me watching this know and agree with me. Maybe that does make me trash right now, because I won't just submit to whatever the prosecution wishes to do to me. I refuse to, because they have the wrong picture, and they have had the wrong picture since the very beginning. They have a very distorted view of who I am, and for all of my outrage and, I guess, what they probably perceive as anger through email, it's done nothing to help clear my name. It's done everything to bolster their opinion that they're right when they're not. Very rarely am I ever outside of the character I am right now. I'm very even keeled for the most part. And you know that's true if you know me. But I digress. I used to lie. I've lied. I was wrong. It's more important that someone have the truth than it is to protect people from the truth. At least if you have the truth, you know where you stand. I don't believe in lying. I think that nothing has caused more damage in my life than lying. I seek to not do that anymore. I started in 2023 truly seeking to not do it anymore. It's not easy. Sometimes when you're faced with situations that aren't easily explainable, you find yourself wanting to go there to make life easier, but it always seems to come back to bite you if you do it. And every single time I've lied, it's come back to bite me. I'm not perfect. I'm not infallible. I make mistakes. But it's been a while since I ever have intentionally lied to cause someone either pain or to get one over on them. I have lied to bluff, to get someone to believe that I had more influence or more power than I had, because my intent was to get them to stop doing what they were doing and think about what's real. That's not any good strategy. It failed. It completely failed. I should have never done it. I really shouldn't have. I was wrong. So that's not any kind of a tactic to use. It doesn't work, number one. And number two, is it really worth it to be considered a liar when what you're trying to do, it might be wholesome at the end of the day? I mean, truly, you might have wholesome plans, but if you have to bluff your way into it, is it really altogether wholesome? No, it doesn't work. You fall flat on your face every single time. That's just my own observation. that goes back to being lied about. You know, if you find yourself in the position of still wearing masks and you have a 300-pound Family Guy looking dude that you're looking at, very likely this person has lied to you. And not just a little bit, he's lied consistently. He lies like he breathes. He can spin a story of bullshit, and very likely you've caught him in several of them, and he's even admitted to some of them, not giving a shit what you thought. But there's your red flag to have changed or taken a different course away from this person. That would have served you. That is the thing you owe yourself, to have rescued your relationships in life. You would have needed to have decided then and there, no more. But you continuously make excuses for the devil, you end up living with the devil. That's how it goes. This person knows that if you flip the script, that the people that love you will want to come back toward you, and they will feel no other choice but to begin removing things from this person's life. They have to make sure you're safe. They can't do that and this person continue to have the things they have and continue functioning the way they do. They have to put a stop to this person, one way or another. If this person won't leave you alone, they have to take steps to make sure you're safe. If you actually care about the people you had relationships with, your children, your family, if any of these things are important, then they're going to want to take action against this person, because this person has caused you, whether you're willing to admit it or not, or you're willing to look at it or not, this person has caused you an extreme amount of damage and is a very manipulative individual who essentially is only happy watching you self-destruct. Think about that. They are only happy watching you self-destruct. They are only happy watching you destroy everything in your life. That makes them happy. And in that destruction comes the trauma bond. Y'all are just in it together. Except he then turns around and goes and screws men, women, whatever. Possibly, you know. If you are a person that finds themselves wearing a mask still, you know, and devoid of relationships that matter. This person would not have anything in their life. They would have presented themselves as rich, but not one thing in their lives do they have that they haven't stolen. Everything of the devil is on the foundation of deception. Everything. If you really think about it and really look at it, every single thing is of deception. You have been deceived into acting as you act. You, in order to continue to live a lie, have to continue to deceive. By definition. So everything you're doing is deception. Everything they're doing is deception. Whether you're deceiving yourself or others, drug use, all of that, it's all deception. It's all a lie. You're choosing to live a lie. unfortunately, this might come to you at a point to where it's your last shot, your last chance ever. Because the day of reckoning is coming. It's probably now upon you. If it's not, it soon will be. I won't lie to you. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot. A lot of things you like. Not things you love, but things you like. Things you want. But they are not things that truly matter. But you will have to sacrifice. And true sacrifice would be something you love. Something that does matter. But you have taken these things for granted. So God's going to allow them to be taken away from you. To show you, when you don't appreciate what you have, you lose it. It's a message. It's part of your growth. But at the end of the day, maybe not all of it's going to happen in a day. Maybe it'll take 6 months, a couple years. But at the end of it, when you are a real person again, when you're not having to wear masks, everything in your life will be real. It'll be solid. The relationships you have. Tears of joy will finally be shed instead of tears of sadness. You'll get a good night's sleep every night. And all of this, to have gone through it, will have been worth it. Because you'll have come to yourself, finally, finding yourself. In the end, only at your beginning. But you have to run this gauntlet of change. You have to make a determination that you are someone who is capable of being accountable for your actions. And if you are that someone, then your life is truly worth it. Then everything of value will return. That's it.